Good evening, everyone, and welcome to This Week from Rockdale. And I am your host, Larry Cox. And as usual, it's great to have you folks here joining me tonight. And it looks like we already have a pretty decent little crowd joining us this evening. Uh, so great to be here. We got a little bit to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about, of course, the courthouse. I mean, not the courthouse, but the Board of Commission expansion and the failure of our local delegation to cross the finish line and get something done for the citizens of Rockdale County. It's a shame when we see this type of incompetence happen that happened with everyone here for Rockdale County. And we're gonna get into this a little bit and just talk about what exactly this legislation did, what the intent of the legislation was once the citizen approved it. And that's if the citizens would have approved it. So, crazy people. So let's say hi to some folks first, then we'll get into that a little bit. So, Mary Boysworth, nice to have you. Marie Withers, great for you to be here tonight. Bill Campbell, great to have you. Dan Burks, great to see you tonight. Great. Tina Hobbs, Angela Asperero, um, Cheryl Moulton, Voices for Rockdale. That'll be Miss Corliss Turner. Um, Cheryl Garcia will be Cheryl and Ben are both here watching. Nice to have you guys. Catherine Lynn, great to have you on the show tonight, Catherine. We've got several people out there. So let me just go over this now. If you're watching the show tonight, you can make comments and they'll show up if you're on my YouTube channel or if you're on the This Week from Rockdale page. If you're on my personal page, the Larry Cox personal page, your comments will not show up. So if you would like your comments to show up, then go off my personal page, go on to either the This Week from Rockdale YouTube page or the This Week from Rockdale Facebook page. Watch the show and you'll be able to make comments in that chat and they'll show up on the screen. So there's where we are standing. Oh, our friend Danielle Munoz from way up north. Danielle, I've seen that a picture that the intern shared the other night of those northern lights, and so you can actually see that from your house. So was that actually a photo that you guys can see from actually where you live? Those northern lights. If that is, that's just out of control. I like seeing that. Good evening, Doug Witham. Nice to have you here. Clayton Orwig. Nice to have you here. We have got people joining the show left and right tonight. Great to have this audience generating on this show. And I see some people have left the Larry Cox Facebook page, and they are now on the This Week from Rockdale. And I'll tell you guys, the reason that I share it to my page is my page just has so many more followers and people that have access and know that the show is on air. So that's why we do that. Uh, William Campbell, that's out of control. She can see Russia from her back door. Now, she's not that northern lady. Uh, so, Daniel, oh, yes, we can see the northern lights from our driveway. Charlotte Gellert, good evening, Charlotte. Welcome to the show. So, yeah, guys, I mean, it is just the TPS report. Alex McDonald, welcome to the show tonight, Alex. So yeah, guys, nice audience tonight. Great for you. Glad that you all have shown up this evening. So let's talk about what I think you guys all came on here to actually hear about, and that was the failure of our local delegation to actually pass uh, legislation to allow the citizens of Rockdale County to vote for themselves whether they want to expand their Board of Commission representation and to include a county manager. So, I mean, that's what this legislation did in a nutshell was this. The legislation offered the citizens the ability to vote yes or no for legislation that would expand to a 5 district commission board, which would be elected at large by districts. You would have to live in a region, in a district to run, but the whole county would vote for you. That's district at large. It's done all over America. It's a compromise for people who want districts and they want you to still represent the whole region. You have to live in an area, but the whole county votes on you. It's an excellent compromise for people who like districts and people who like um, um, the at-large system. Then this would have it would have allowed us to have a county manager who would have a professional who had minimal who they had listed the criteria of what degree, what experience they had to have to be able to apply and hold for that position. Then also this legislation established an ethics board. Now a lot of you might not realize this, but we did a little town hall this past week, and former commissioner and state senator Janice Van Ness informed us that Rockdale County had an ethics board when she was a commissioner. And right after she left office, this group of clowns, the three people we have now, Washington, Williams, and Nesbitt, they eliminated the ethics board. They quit having the ethics board. So, but why would someone quit having an ethics board? Because maybe there's some ethics problems that they don't want exposed. The only reason not to have an ethics board is because you don't want people to have an idea of your unethical conduct. That's why you don't have an ethics board. So this legislation would have put on the ballot to allow you, the citizens of Rockdale County, to say, yes, I want this, or no, I don't. And then everybody would have been able to campaign, try to get what, and to show their points at that point of what they wanted. Now, one of the things that the Democrat Party came out with a letter with that said, that the county manager was a big part of the problem. Guys, if y'all recall, the Democrat Party is the party that asked the question about the county manager, and it overwhelmingly got support of the Democrat voters of Rockdale County that they wanted a county manager. It is crazy when you've got the citizens of a county that are saying they want these things, and yet you've got this local delegation who blocks the citizens from actually having a voice, because this delegation would not have been passing this legislation. They would have only passed the legislation, which would have then activated a ballot initiative, which the county election supervisor would have called a special election for November and put it on the ballot for you, the citizens, to vote for. Now, we're already going to have a couple of things on a ballot in November, so it would have just been added to a few other things that have already been called for to be on a ballot this coming November. So it would have been no additional cost to the taxpayers, because we're already going to have a special election this November for the East Block for the Board of Education. This would have been an excellent opportunity for the citizens of Rockdale County to be able to voice their opinion on what's going on. What we have in reality is a local legislation who does represent, they do represent something. They don't represent you or I, the taxpayer of Rockdale County, but they are representing the Board of Commission. And one might say, well, Larry, how do you draw this conclusion? I draw this conclusion by some questions that were and by some actions that were taken. First of all, they asked, did the county commission send a resolution asking for this legislation to be introduced? No, the county commission did not send a resolution, but I think that the citizens of Rockdale County, by those ballot questions in 2020, sent their citizens' solution to the delegation with how those questions were, that they wanted the option to vote on something like this. So I do commend House Rep Taylor for listening to the voters of Rockdale County and doing this. Now, you've got to remember, probably the reason that Representative Taylor listened to the citizens of Rockdale County, she's a person that represents her district that lives in Rockdale County. Now, when we look at the voter numbers, just like the Voices for Rockdale put some interesting statistics out when we looked at voting numbers of Representative Doreen Carter. And then Representative Doreen Carter is quite an interesting individual, because if we all recall, Doreen Carter is the representative that actually carried the PFA legislation for the Board of Commission last year. So that is directly representing the Board of Commission, because the citizens of Rockdale County if given the opportunity to have voted against that PFA, would have not voted in favor of the PFA. Alex, did anyone really expect it to pass? I had been telling people openly and behind the scenes, Alex, that this local legislation was not going to pass. That they had their naysayers lined up, who would use lip service, which Carter kept saying, "I'm for it, but I can't vote for it. I'm for it, but I can't vote for it." That's right there is just giving lip service. But when we look at what the vote totals are for that House district, a little over 2,000 people voted for that House district in DeKalb County. Over 8,000 people voted for that House district in Newton and Rockdale County, and over 4,000 voted for that House district in Newton County. So that is 12,000 voters in Rockdale and Newton and 2,000 voters in DeKalb County. So let's just talk about realistically, a Rockdale County resident should have the upper hand and should actually be representing that district. And that's how that should work. Because trust me, when you go look at a House reps and state senators that represent DeKalb County, they have a slew of representatives that live in DeKalb County, that represent DeKalb County, and multiple districts outside of DeKalb touching all the way around the county. So when you've got a district like Doreen Carter's district that actually is the majority of Rockdale and Newton, it makes no sense for Rockdale County and Newton County citizens to elect somebody who has the least amount of representation of that district in their county. It doesn't benefit those other two counties, Rockdale or Newton, to have a minority vote getter to actually represent them, because they've got no initiative to represent them because they don't live there. That's not where they lay their head at night. And and this is the thing about it. When we look at all the cities that are in DeKalb, all the cities that are in Newton County, all the cities that are in Gwinnett, because Gwinnett still has a little bit with the Kendrick, all the people that are in, I think the Kendrick maybe have a little bit of Walton also. When we look at the counties that that the representatives represent other than Rockdale that make up our delegation, every one of those counties have 5 commissioners that are elected by district and have a county manager. Every single one of them. They all have municipalities that have 5, 6, 7 council members, a mayor, and a city manager. So we're talking about a group of representatives who their home county actually has exactly what they're denying a county that they're representing. That's reality, folks. You do the little research, you look it up yourself. All the little cities that are in DeKalb and are in Newton, they're in Walton, they all have mayors and city councils, and every single county has a 5 commission by district with a county manager. But Rockdale County, we're supposed to, that's not good for us. Let's see what else. The city of Conyers has more representation than the county. Yet the city of Conyers has more representation than the county. And I think the city of Lithonia has 5 council members and a mayor. And I think they only have there's a very small population in that city. And we got to look in the city of Conyers has less than 1,000 people that participate in their election. I think it's the same thing with the city of Lithonia. All these cities have less than 1,000 people that usually participate in their municipal elections. But yet they've got all this representation when you've got a county like Rockdale who has thousands of people vote, but yet we get no representation. We get representation from the commission zone, that triangle. That's where they represent. That's where their echo chamber is. And then that's what we're supposed to just tolerate it and lay down and accept it. So, guys, I think I mentioned last week that that myself and Ken Holmes, we have formed an organization a few years ago called the Rockdale Voter, and a lot of you have received information from the Rockdale Voter. The Rockdale Voter is getting ready to kick up its activities, and we're getting ready to be really proactive. Now, you got to recall now, Ken Holmes and I have left the Republican Party, and we have declared ourselves independents. So I am an independent. Ken Holmes is an independent. We will be leading the Rockdale Voter as the co-founders. We are in the process of right now of expanding the Rockdale Voter and getting an advisory board. The advisory board will be made up of some independents, some Democrats, and Republicans because we want the voice of everybody. We want the advisory board to look like the county. So the advisory board will be made up of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. So so that we have a broad perspective and we have a voice of everybody out there in the community. So, like I said, I am going to be have declared myself an independent. I am not going to fall into the rabbit hole of doing any bidding for any party any longer. Uh, in Rockdale County, if you're a voter and you do not participate in the primary in May, in the Democrat primary, then you have no voice. You are wasting your vote because the winner of that is the general election. The Democrat May primary is the general election in Rockdale County. If you want to say on who's going to represent you and the policies that will move forward in Rockdale County, then you've got to drop party label and party affiliation in May, and you have to vote local. You've got to participate in the May Democrat primary in order to have a vote and to have a say on into who's going to represent you and what direction you want this county to go in. We actually need to have a better field of candidates and more candidates to run. And these candidates all need to run in the May Democrat primary. That's just the facts. That's the reality that we live in Rockdale County. And here at the Rockdale and the Rockdale Voter, which Ken and I have founded, is going to spread that message. We're going to start doing advertising and promoting this. We're going to educate voters through the next year that if you want to impact and make a change in Rockdale County, then you have to vote in May in the Democrat primary, and you don't vote for incumbents. I remember a few years ago, there was an incumbent standing out at the Parker Road early voting location, and they told someone that was a voter, just vote for everybody with an I beside their name, an incumbent. Well, we have some decent incumbents. I'm not going to say we don't, but to saddle yourself to just voting for incumbents and not change, that's ridiculous because the majority of those incumbents need to go away. The citizens of Rockdale County need change. In 24, the citizens of Rockdale County need alternatives to Sherry Washington and Oz Nesbitt. We do not need those two individuals to be reelected to those positions if we want Rockdale to move forward. I actually think we have an excellent opportunity to replace Doreen Carter as our state rep, and so that we can have someone actually represent Rockdale County instead of the Board of Commission. Because Doreen Carter has proven herself as someone who represents the Board of Commission and does not represent you, the citizens of Rockdale County. So we've got and we've got these past politicians who behind the scenes with their cloak and dagger are pulling strings and keeping things the status quo because they're hoping to come out of the darkness at some point and regain past glory and regain these commission seats and these chairman positions with these six-figure salaries. And that's about self-gain, wealth, and self-preservation. It's not about representing you or what's best for the citizens of Rockdale County. It's about what's best for their financial future. I have told you many a time, and I'll repeat it many more times. We need to quit electing people who depend on those incomes for a living. Somebody needs that holds those positions we need to make sure that they don't require that income to be able to move forward. So, Corliss, I want to put this up. So, I'm just going to, this is the edge, whatever party you we have to vote in primary on a Democrat ballot is the only way, and that's true. So this is what we got to understand, that in Rockdale County, in the primary, party doesn't matter. What your state and national politics don't matter in Rockdale County, because what matters in Rockdale County is land management, taxes, police protection. Those things matter in Rockdale County, and none of that is on the state or the national stage. In my opinion, these county positions should be nonpartisan and they shouldn't have political affiliation to them. But you know what? That's just political parties trying to make themselves powerful by saying they've got all these positions. This is a Democrat county. This is a Republican county. At the end of the day, Rockdale County being a Democrat county, can you say that your life is better now than it was 12 years ago? Can you say that your life is better under Democrat control versus Republican control? No, you can't. I don't know if it was much better under Republican control, but I can tell you the worry about maintaining power and maintaining a blue county has distracted individuals from representing this county. So we have people not worried about representing the county, and we have people more worried about keeping a county a certain color, keeping a county blue. I don't care if Rockdale County is orange or green. I don't care. What I care about is electing people that will stop raising my taxes, who will stop doing ridiculous land plans. And we've just got to quit dropping the party nonsense. Just quit. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about Democrat, Republican. Just vote for the person. No, you have to vote in the Democrat primary. We can't ignore that Democrat, Republican exist. We can't ignore that. But what we can do is acknowledge that if you want to make a difference in Rockdale County, you have to vote in the Democrat primary. And not only do you have to vote in the primary, but you have to take a stand and say who you want people to vote for. You have to take a position. The Rockdale voter will be taking positions. We will be vetting candidates. We will be looking at their policy. We will be looking at what they want to do and how it would impact your life. And we will give you information on what each candidate wants to do, and if they accomplish what they want to do, how that impacts you, negatively or positively. So we will give you a negative and a positive for each candidate. And the Rockdale voter, at the end of the day, will end up saying the Rockdale voter supports this candidate for that election. So does that mean the Rockdale voter will be endorsing Democrat candidates in a May primary? That is exactly what that means. The Rockdale voter will be not what we mean. Trust me, you may have an excellent Republican running in a Republican primary, but if they don't have a realistic chance of winning, then the Rockdale voter is not going to waste an endorsement. We are going to look at the candidates who have a realistic chance of winning, and those are the candidates we're going to look at and advise you on. Sometimes the candidate we endorse may not be the perfect candidate, but it's going to be the candidate that we feel is best for Rockdale at this kind of time. Hey, and the next election time, then if that person falls and doesn't do right, then that person may be the person that we don't elect the next time. So just telling you, that's what we need to do. We need to vote for people who are representing our needs and what's best for you as a citizen of Rockdale County. Throw party politics out the window, but realize you have to vote in the Democrat primary. And whether we want to realize it or not, we're going to be having to explain to Republican voters. And this is the reality. We don't have to convince Democrat voters to vote in the Democrat primary. They're already going to vote there. So this is what we've got to realize, folks. It's actually Republican voters that we're going to be reaching out to. Tell you can still vote for who you want for president in the March primary. You can vote for who you want to in the November general election. But in May, in Rockdale County, if you don't pull a Democrat primary ticket and vote in the Democrat primary, you don't have a vote in Rockdale County. That is the reality. That is the reality. That is the reality of what we're living in right now. So at this point, it's too early to say who the Rockdale voter is going to stand behind. Uh, we'll have a better idea. I think probably candidates need to start. It's not that long from now, guys. 14 months from now, right? 14 months from now, you're right now. Next year, right now, we're in the heat of campaign season. They're out there campaigning. You're going to see signs. They're going to be doing it. People need to decide right now if they're running next year. They need to start organizing. They need to start fundraising. They need to start reaching out to community activists to get support, because by September, October this year, they need to begin the process of letting people know they're running for office. Qualifying is always like the second week, first full week of March in an election year, but the process starts way before that. People need to go ahead and start forming their committees, uh, doing their letters, letting people know they intend to run, so they can start fundraising. You can't file in March and think you're going to raise enough money to for a March, April, May campaign. It doesn't work that way. You need to file your intention papers now so that you can start raising money to run an election campaign to beat these incumbents, because it takes money to beat incumbents. The Rockdale voter has a plan to raise money and to campaign to educate voters on how to vote in the Democrat primary, but still vote in the presidential primary of their choice, and how they can still vote for who they want in November, but they need to vote in the Democrat primary. So, Alex, that's an excellent. I want to put that up. So, there's a big difference between fit for office and qualified and competent to run the county. That's why I support a qualified county manager in lieu of our current position. And that has been my position all along, that we need a professional who is trained to run the county. We need a professional who is trained in budgets, they're trained in management, they're trained in personnel, they're trained in solving problems, day to day problems. These elected officials are not. They win a popularity contest. By winning a popularity contest, it does not make you that person that is qualified uh, to actually make these decisions and run the county. There is a difference between being qualified and competent. Someone can be competent to hold office, but not qualified to run the county. And that is an excellent point from Alex McDonald. And we do want competent individuals who realize their limitations and are able to use people other than themselves to carry out their goals. And that's what we're looking for in Rockdale County. We're looking for that change. I think we can actually pressure these local delegates to actually enact this legislation next year, but we're stuck with that chairman for 4 years because they did not enact it this year. They didn't give us the chance to vote on it. I think we need the opportunity to vote on it next year. I think we can, through pressure, we can pressure. I think we can pressure Doreen Carter. And if she doesn't vote for it, I mean, either way, she needs to go away. She's shown her true colors. She's shown that she represents the Board of Commission. If you can't represent the citizens of this county, then you don't need to be a delegate, especially when Rockdale County is the county that's the majority county of that House district. Uh, we need a representative who lives in Rockdale County who will look after Rockdale County. Uh, so, I mean, guys, that's just reality. That's the reality of what and who we are and where we live right now. Rockdale County needs to move forward. And just, there was so much intimidation nonsense going on behind the scenes last week with this. You had former politicians flexing their muscle. You had current politicians reaching out to people. What do you think you're doing? Why are you supporting this? This is going to hurt you by backing these people and backing that movement. And these are people that don't even support the other people that were trying to actually threaten them. And that's what it was. Is there were threats, accusations behind the scenes last week. It was dirty in Rockdale County. I'm just telling you, folks, that's the reality, because those individuals knew they were in for a fight for their life last week, and they survived this fight. They survived last week, but it's up to you to make sure that nail does get nailed in that coffin. It's up to you as voters of Rockdale County to share this show, share this message, share the words of what we need to do as citizens of Rockdale County, that it's time that we make a difference by not electing the same people over and over again. It's time that we as citizens of Rockdale County acknowledge that we all need to vote in the Democrat primary. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do, guys. We need to do these things, because enough is enough. You've heard that, right? Enough is enough. I think Rockdale County has met that flashpoint to where enough is enough. That the voters of Rockdale County have seen that certain individuals are not here to represent them. They're here for self-gain and self-glory. They're here to represent the status quo. They're here to represent the PFAs. They're here to represent the $140 million bonds, to where you, the taxpayers of Rockdale County, will have millions and millions of dollars of debt. We've got a failing banks. We've got an economy that is in a death spiral. But you've got three nincompoops in this county who are on a spending spree that don't understand that. They don't understand it's time to pull back on the spending. It's not the best time to enter into hundreds of millions of dollars of debt for a administrative building. I'm going to even quit calling it the other thing, because it's not the other thing. I'm going to call it what it is, the administrative complex. It's not time to build a Taj Mahal for this Board of Commission. Let's pretend that they're even wanting to do the other thing. This has all been about a Taj Mahal for the Board of Commission, for them to have offices. Because even one of the commissioners, I'll be damned if we bring other people in here and they get an office and I don't have my own office yet or whatever. You know what? That's not your seat. That's not your office. That's the taxpayer's office that you're supposed to be there. That's the voter's office that you're supposed to be there representing us. It's not your office. It's not yours. It's ours. And there's the problem with this entitlement and this nonsense of these three clowns. I said it. I called them the clowns. They are the clown posse. You guys, it's reality. We've got these three nincompoops who run this county into the ground. But it's not just these three. It's the Board of Commission, the Board of Education, and the City of Conyers. We've been giving the City of Conyers a pass for way too long. The City of Conyers helped stir this nonsense behind the scenes and has been just really good at deflecting. They have been the masters of deflection for decades. They are elbow deep into this nonsense and mismanagement as the county. Just look in the city with all of these housing developments and all this high density nonsense that's going in the city. That wasn't the county that approved all that. That was your city council and mayor that approved all that nonsense. Don't get under some sort of misconception that the city is some better, well-managed organization. It's not. They're just much better at hiding the bodies and deflecting. The Board of Education, they just don't care. They just spend your money and just take it and don't care because they say, but it's for the kids. It's not for the kids. It's for ego. It's for them spending millions and millions and millions of your dollars with no accountability. This eSplosh nonsense that we're going to vote for in November, we should vote no on this. We need to mobilize citizens. We need to stop the hemorrhaging in Rockdale County. The only way to do it is turn them back from the dinner table and don't feed them. Sometimes you got to starve something to get it out. Let's starve these organizations. Let's starve this Board of Education. Don't let them have that additional SPLOST money. Make them be more. So make them live within their means. Let's take away some of their ability to hemorrhage us. That's what we need to do in Rockdale County. We need to realize that it's time to stand up in Rockdale County and make a difference. We can make that difference. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. We've got to really work together. We've got to spread the word. We've got to get the message out there. You've got to vote. You've got to vote in the Democrat primary in May. And like I said, this message is really not to Democrats. These Democrats vote in their own primary. These are the Republican voters, conservative voters, who have to quit just pulling a Republican ticket to vote for nobody, or not going at all because there's not Republicans on the ballot. You've got to realize those Democrats are going to, those that are running as Democrats are going to hold those offices. You need to participate in that. You need to have a say, and you need to make a difference. And the Rockdale voter and other citizens are going to help educate you on how to make a difference this coming May so that we can help Rockdale County be stabilized and eliminate the nonsense that's going on. Because I'll be damned, I'm not letting you clowns run me out of my county. This is where I live, and this is where I've dug in. So just get used to the criticism. Get used to being called clowns because, hey, I'm here to stay, and we're going to give your ass the boot. This is Larry Cox coming to you live from Rockdale County. I'll see you next Sunday as we bash these bunch of clowns one more time.